Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we are reviewing Scream 4 in our Scream franchise series. If you've never seen me before, what perfect time to stumble upon the video, because we are going through reviewing and ranking all of the Scream films, so join the channel down below if you want to see any of that. Scream 4 is kind of a weird film because it kind of exists in limbo. It's after the original trilogy, but before this reboot thing they're trying with 5 and 6, just kind of exists somewhere in the ether. And I know this movie rubs some people the wrong way because it's so on the nose with its humor, and it is a little bit different than the original films if you like the tones of those ones. But for what it's worth, I always have a pretty good time whenever I revisit this movie. Starting off with the opening scene of Scream 4, I think the opening scene of this movie, I think it does a great job of diverting your expectation and keeping you on your toes. When I saw this for the first time, I remember being so caught off guard by the opening because it's kind of like opening Inception of what they always do, and I thought it was so damn creative at the time, and I think it holds up as still being one of the best. Every single time you have a character get a call from Ghostface before inevitably dying or getting attacked. In this movie, it's kind of a movie within a movie within a movie, and they're doing this like 3-layer thing where they're having people watch the stab movies. Again, going back through this series one by one, it really does stand out as being one of the best, most unique openings. And for Scream fans, this was also kind of a special send-off because this was the final movie in the series directed by Wes Craven, and it stars Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Courteney Cox, Hayden Panettiere, and Emma Roberts. As for the movie itself, in this one, we have Sidney Prescott returning to Woodsboro because she is now an author and she's doing a book tour. I don't know if it's just me, but if I was this woman, I would get the fuck out of Woodsboro. I would stop returning because it feels like anytime you put a spotlight on yourself, if you are her, people are going to die in dozens. Watching this movie, I was really surprised by the way it looks. It's been a while since I've seen this, and it really caught me off guard stylistically compared to the previous ones, how different this movie looks. There are so many different filters used, a ton of lens flare, a bunch of artificial lighting to make things darker. It really does make it feel like this is a part of the original trilogy, even though it takes place so many years after. And this is one of the rare times I will go out on a limb and say I actually like that stylistic choice because it does put you back in the original world of the first 3, which is important because we're still following all of the main legacy characters. We haven't yet got that requel. So by using these filters, it does kind of catch you off guard at the beginning because you can tell it's not natural. But at the same time, by making the movie look aged, it does kind of blend in like it could have been filmed at that time. So I think it's a success overall. And I've always found Scream 4 to have the most violent Ghostface of the franchise, the most vindictive personality. It probably also has the single most violent kill of the franchise, almost like Terrifier-esque. I think that gives this movie a backbone that especially 3 doesn't have because it really makes you feel like there are stakes to this film. You feel like the legacy characters can die. You feel like all of the supporting cast can die, and when they die, they usually get it because Ghostface does not fuck around in this movie. In fact, that is actually Ghostface's motivation. He calls Sidney and lets her know he's devising all of this plan specifically to make her suffer. Kind of cliche, but I always enjoy that as a motivation because it shows you that the killer is kind of playing with the victim here. You can have the most fun with the violence, with the kills, and I think this movie delivers on both of those. I've always enjoyed the characters in this movie as well. Once again, we have Sidney Prescott back as our lead, and she continues to evolve into this badass final girl woman who is just over this shit at this point. She just does not care. She knows how to survive, but she hasn't lost the ethics attached to that. And she's not going to sell her soul to make money off of her fame attached to this book. Gale Weathers, at this point in the franchise, she's kind of having a moral dilemma because she wants to be that cutthroat journalist that got all of the beats from the previous films. But she's moved on now. She's married Dewey, and they have that relationship going. They've been married for a decade, and she's just kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. The only character I do not like in this movie whatsoever, I think it's pure character sabotage, is Dewey. They have turned this guy straight up into Fred from Scooby-Doo. This guy is the most incompetent, comedically cartoonish cop ever, to the point it has you thinking there is no way that version of Dewey would have ever survived the original trilogy and gotten to this point. Absolute character assassination. He's kind of a comedic relief in this. A lot of the time he's just full of buffoonery, but it doesn't work for me. And for the majority of the movie, he's not really even involved in the plot. He says he's solving the case, but he just kind of idly drives around town and answers the phone every now and then. No bearing on the outcome of this film. And in my other reviews, I've mentioned the differences between the core characters and the side characters. I think Scream 4, what kind of makes it stand out, this movie has some of the strongest side characters in the franchise. Emma Roberts is in this film. This was was during her heyday when she was really picking up steam in Hollywood. Kind of weird. She kind of fell off the earth. Hayden Panettiere is in here as Kirby, who has gone on to become one of the most iconic characters in the more recent films. They talk in this movie about an angel of death, how Sidney Prescott kind of brings death along with her as she goes. Feels like when watching this movie, the real angel of death is Kirby, because that woman cannot fucking drive at all. That being said, I forgive her because for some reason that haircut, something about the short hair, it's doing it for me. I also really like the Randy archetypes in this one. You have these two characters from film class and they're going around with like this GoPro camera. They're filming everything. That is actually Ghostface's motivation in this movie. In a lot of the films, he mentions making his own film based off the Stab series. In this one, he's actually doing it. He's going around with a camera. He's filming the kills. For that reason, incentivized violence. That's what I said earlier. But you have these two nerds in film class. They're like the horror movie geeks like Randy was in the original trilogy. And they're going around talking about the tropes and the rules there, the meta commentary of this that keeps you in the light of what this all is. I think they're funny. I think they're kind of creative with the way they explain it, the way they're trying to kind of use the clout of Sidney Prescott and Gale Weathers. So once again, I really enjoy the majority of the side characters in this movie that makes this entire cast of characters pretty damn good. The only side character in this movie I think is a fish out of water is Anthony Anderson as this cop. There's a scene in this film, a line he delivers about Bruce Willis.
Fuck Bruce Willis.
Quite possibly the single worst line in horror history. It's kind of funny though, because I remember back in the movie theater when that line happened, theater was in a roar. It was very effective, but going back and watching it alone, holy shit, that line is awkward. So it's one of these weird things where sure, it might not have aged well, but it was effective at the time, so it wasn't really bad. I don't know, some food for thought. Fuck Bruce Willis. But as much as I said I enjoy the characters of Scream 4, that doesn't let them off the hook, because I would argue that Scream 4 has the dumbest characters in this franchise. I always make it known if you're somebody who has to suspend your disbelief, this might not be the movie for you, because if you're one of these people who goes, why would you go in there? Why would you go check outside? What the fuck? The killer could be out there. Yeah, this is probably the movie in this series that will piss you off, because the characters in this movie, they're all but looking for the Grim Reaper. You have characters directly talking to one another about the tropes of horror and how if they get out and go outside, they're probably going to die. And guess what? They die. You have other characters who give monologues about how dangerous the situation is, then seemingly go outside and have a beer by themselves. Again, probably gonna die. Then you have Dewey being the cartoon he is, and it just feels like a lot of characters in this movie make the single dumbest decision at every single possible moment. So it's one of those horror movies. If you know, you know. With all of that being said, I think Scream 4 might have one of, if not the best ending of the entire franchise. When it comes to the killer reveal, their motivations, the violence intended, final 20-25 minutes of this movie are damn good. And I would say, aside from maybe the original, if you're not very familiar with the formula, or maybe you are very familiar with the formula at this point, this is one of the more difficult movies to guess what the killer is. You definitely get nuggets. I was actually having a little bit of trouble remembering as I went on, because it's been quite a while since I watched this one, and I was like, is it that? And I was so confused. I was right, but it was close. So overall, guys, I really enjoy Scream 4, but I will say this, if you are somebody who does not like comedy in your horror films, this one might not be for you. But there are certain characters, certain lines here, completely immersion breaking when it comes to being a pure horror film. Doesn't bother me. I have a lot of fun with it. As you guys know, if you follow the channel, I love horror comedies, but kind of a goofy one. Scream 4, for what this franchise does, I have an awesome time with this one. If you clicked on this video, I assume you watched the Scream franchise, and if you do, comment down below. Let me know what you think of this movie and the franchise. As always, like, comment, subscribe, hype the video, join the channel. I will see ya in the next video. Peace.